Hey all. A few months ago we went through just a really quick, very basic run through of the A minor pentatonic blues scale. That was that. You know, we talked about the box that you can stay in and how to expand the box over time. So there's also, though, there's a bunch of different scales. That's only one of them, but that one's used a lot for blues and for blues-based riff rock, I guess you call it. But there's also another one that's fairly common, among the players you probably listen to, and that's the major pentatonic scale. And like I said, a lot of players use it, and I think the best solos kind of switch back and forth between them. Like if you listen to Jimmy Page does it a lot. Nobody's Fault But Mine is one where he goes back and forth between major and minor. Lemon Song is another one. Maybe we'll run through that one in a minute. And Mick Taylor uses major pentatonic quite a lot. Too much, in my opinion. Clapton did too. The Crossroads solo goes between major and minor. Angus Young is another one. In fact, he uses major pentatonic a lot. And once you get a little bit familiar with it, you'll start to hear it when you listen to, say, AC/DC songs and guitar solos. But so let's get an idea of it. Now, when we did minor pentatonic, that was that box that we had, right? And it's a question of how big or small you want the box to be that you're going to play in. So for today, let's keep the box fairly small, just for explanation's sake. But you can explore the fretboard on your own and find out how big your box on the fretboard really is, or how big you want it to be. The shorthand way, I guess, that a lot of people think of minor pentatonic versus major is if you were in A, up here at the 5th fret, right? That's where this box, the minor pentatonic box, starts. In fact, the opening of the Heartbreaker solo, that is, he's staying right in that minor pentatonic box in A. But the shorthand way to think of it is take whatever key you're in, go down 3 frets. So it really would be F sharp now for A, so you go down 3 to F sharp, and then do exactly the same fingerings 3 frets down, and then you're in the major pentatonic for that. It doesn't really work unless you keep the box fairly small. But for purposes of this, we probably could think of it that way. So if you're in A, you could either do this in minor, or you could do exactly the same lick in major. It's the same exact fingerings in both, but one is major, one's minor, one's major. So to think of it as the way I think of it, say you're in A, I think of it as, okay, you start with that root note of A, and then you can go 2-4 on the A string, and then 2-4 on the D string. Same thing on G. And then B string is 2-5, and high E is 2-5. So, sorry, to do the whole thing. And you can just hear it kind of sounds upbeat instead of that just sounds sort of mean and sad. But this one sounds happy. So then once you get familiar with the box down there, then you can take it and do it an octave higher and start at 14. So if you're in A, and think of like the solo for both solos really in Blue Sky, that Allman Brothers. That's I think they're an E major pentatonic for that, or an E major scale. And that's the sort of the way to I was going to say visualize it in your ear, audioize it in your ear. That's the way to think of it. in terms of the sound. So for a little exercise, we'll take, there's on Bad Boy Boogie, the live version from the 1980, the Let There Be Rock version, the live one. There's a section in there where they're just jamming on this. Just one, that's just an A, that same note for about 5 whole minutes, and you'll hear the crowd screaming as Angus does his little strip tease and everything. But if you wanted to just practice it, pull that up on YouTube or whatever and just get to that part about 5 minutes in, and you can work on your A major pentatonic scale and even mix in some minor pentatonic. So let's just take a listen to that and see what I'm talking about a little bit. You can hear how you can just go back and forth between them with different licks, and they're again use if you want exactly the same fingerings, just 3 frets apart, and you're in the ballpark if you keep the box fairly limited, and you can switch back and forth between them. But let's run through one different one, that little guitar solo section of Lemon Song, and we'll see how Jimmy Page does it on that one. I think this started actually whoa, that is one bad cable. But let's get an idea of that. Hold on a second here. I'm just going to do a little bit of noodling, and this would be E major instead of A like that last one. So let's just see what it sounds like. Major. That's minor. Major. So that is switching right there, and that only was 12 bars worth of it. But he switched back and forth. He did the first part, that was 1, in major, then switched to minor, switched back to major, and then finished on minor. So he switched back and forth, 3-4 times, just in the 12 bars. And that's no different than what you were doing in terms of the box. It's no different than we just did in A, except for this one, instead of starting in the 2nd fret as your home bass, we start up here at the 9th fret where E is. Start up there and do exactly the same. Start up there in the 9th fret instead, and then you can do your major in that, and then switch to minor up there where the minor pentatonic box up there at 12. So you can get a little bit of a feel for how they sound a little bit different just by listening. If you listen to like Mick Taylor's solo of Sympathy for the Devil on the Yaya's album, almost said Gaga's album, on the Yaya's album, and he does a lot of switching back and forth between major and minor. Mick Taylor does on that one. Whereas for the sake of comparison, listen to Keith's solo on that, which is entirely minor pentatonic, and Keith, for the most part, stays for most of his soloing, virtually all of it. He's almost always in minor pentatonic, almost always. And for that period, Mick Taylor did a lot of major, and would go back and forth between them. So you can see how they sound differently. Just listen to Keith's solo, then listen to what Mick T is doing, and you can hear. They're both playing an E, and one's minor and one tends to be major. And that's the yin and yang that we're talking about in terms of switching back and forth between them. And you can meld them kind of seamlessly, like Jimmy Page did in Lemon Song, and on virtually every solo that Angus does. He goes back and forth between them. Another good example is his solo on the Jack. You know that one. And then he'll start. The solo starts in major, still in major, E major. Then he goes into minor. I don't even know how it goes. That's all minor, and then he's... So that's one where he starts in E major pentatonic, switches it to E minor pentatonic. And you can kind of tell the difference if you get an ear for it. Where he's going and where they're switching back and forth. But give it a little bit of a try and explore the box, the minor pentatonic box, wherever you are. If you're in B, take it down 3 frets. If you're in A, take it down 3 frets. Just give those a little bit of a workout, and keep the box as large as or small as you're comfortable with while you're figuring it out. But as you explore the fretboard, you'll add to the box and get notes that sound right to you. After I posted the first one, people were saying, I got a lot of messages saying, hey, you did that one in A, can you do a lesson in B now, or do a lesson in G? But that's not they're kind of missing the point of what I was trying to do with that lesson. The whole idea of that lesson was you explore the fretboard. You don't need me to explain this finger goes here. You don't need me to do that. You can figure that out. I'm just trying to give you a starting point for you to sit down and spend time with it, because that's what you're going to have to do if you want to be a good guitar player, or at least a guitar player of any skill level. You have to spend time with your guitar. You have to close the door like I am in here, shut out the world, put on your iPad or your CD or whatever, however you listen to music, or even without music at all, and play along and learn it and go through. I can't tell you, that Sympathy for the Devil, Keith Richards solo, that was like the first guitar solo I learned note for note. I can't tell you how many times I listened to it. I didn't wake up one day and I could play that note for note, or any other song. You have to sit down and work on it. And that's the best advice I can give you. There's no secret or magic pill that gets you to the finish line or the skill level that you want to be. You have to put work into it. And I know for a certain generation of people, that's such a crushing disappointment, to learn that you're not entitled to be as good a guitar player as you want to overnight. But that's the way the world works. And you have to put in some time and figure it out. Or call your local guitar teacher and pay them to sit down and teach you. That's up to you. But anyway, this is at least a starting point on the difference between major and minor, and may give you a little bit of a clue how to start figuring those things out on your own and adding to your own little vocabulary. So good luck.